Hey everybody, it's Dan with Pain Free You. Today's topic is going to be, but I do have a structural problem, right? And so, before I do that, let's breathe in the confidence, breathe in the smiles, breathe in the peace. Breathe in whatever state you want to be in. Calm, peaceful, happy, full of joy, full of love and gratitude. Breathe those things in. So, topic. But I do have a structural problem. And this is kind of for some of the newbies, because there are a lot of people, and a lot of times I will get questions through the YouTube channel or the Facebook group. And the question is posed in such a way that I think there might be a little misunderstanding about what TMS is. And people will ask a question like, will this TMS work, heal a bulging disc? Or will this TMS work, eliminate my pain from whatever, a torn rotator cuff, or you name it, any number of diagnoses, medical diagnoses. And it leads me to believe that they think their pain is really from the structure, and they're hoping that this TMS work will eliminate the pain from the structural problem. And that's the misconception. They may not have known or learned yet that TMS, as it relates to structural problems, means that the pain is not from a structural problem. The structural problem is an innocent bystander being blamed for the pain or the symptoms, but it's not the real cause. Yes, it does exist. Yes, many of us have degeneration. When I was in my 30s, I had some disc degeneration in my back. Here I am, 23 years later, and I feel better than I did back then. And I'm sure with normal aging, that degeneration has just gotten worse. And so we all have structural abnormalities. But again, TMS means that those abnormalities are normal and they're not the cause of the pain. The cause of the pain is the brain creating the pain or the symptoms as a method to distract us from these overwhelming, scary, and dangerous emotions. So, for anybody who says, but I do have a structural problem, my response to that is, so what? We all do. Most of us do. I've got a knee that'll click if I turn a certain way. I've got a hip that'll pop if I bend a certain way. I got a wrist that'll crack if I, do a certain thing with my hand. We all have structural abnormalities. And like I said, I've probably got a back full of degeneration, normal aging. So yeah, you do have a structural abnormality, but it's not the cause of the pain. So what? Doesn't matter what the MRI says, right? And so what's more important than looking at an MRI or getting a medical doctor to tell you, yep, this is what's going on, it's more important to say, let's evaluate and rule in TMS. And does the pain ever drop significantly or go away completely and then come back later? It's proof it's TMS. Does it ever move? Yeah, it's proof it's TMS if it does. And if it doesn't, that doesn't mean it's not TMS. That's just one possible characteristic. Do things like movement help? How about heat or ice? Do those things help, but only temporarily, and then the pain comes back? Do you notice that your pain increases when you are stressed out or after a significant emotional experience, right? Those things are indicative of TMS. Is the pain ever less when you are on vacation? Is the pain ever less when you are engaged in the outside world? I just talked to a lady the other day who said she was able to cook for 3 hours with no back pain and sciatica. And you would think standing around in the kitchen would cause her some pain, but it didn't. But then when she stopped, the pain came back. And I always talk about how pain is there as a measure of safety. If the brain perceives danger, that you're not safe with your body position, even with your thinking. And that's why yesterday's thought watching video might be helpful. If you haven't seen it, please go back and watch it. But your brain can perceive even you returning to your fears and worries and catastrophic thinking and somewhat of a victim mentality, like, oh, poor me and my life sucks. And the brain kind of perceives some of that as dangerous, and it wants you to get away from that, so it fires up the pain. When the danger signal goes up, the pain can go up. And so if you notice that there are times when your pain comes down, when you are feeling safe or loved or cared for, then that's a really good indicator that it's TMS. So look, for those people who say, but I do have a structural problem, so the pain is real. Yes, the pain is real. It's just not coming from where you think it's coming from. It's coming from the brain. And so I would encourage you, that's the knowledge portion of getting better. If you haven't read any books by Sarno, Schubner, Dr. David Clark, take some time and do that. That's really important. If you want a quick overview, go to painforyou.com. There's a 20-minute video right on the homepage that explains how pain starts and how it becomes chronic. And so the knowledge aspect will kind of help solidify your understanding of the fact that, yeah, maybe you do have a structural defect that you can see on your MRI. But the fact that the doctor says that structural abnormality is the cause of your symptoms, that doesn't make it so. Because if you have, like this lady, she had 3 hours where she had zero pain at all, it's not structural, especially if she's working and slaving in the kitchen over, making a big dinner, right? So sometimes we want to apply logic and reason to it and saying, well, does that make sense? If it was structural, how could I have possibly had a really good time of it? How come I can stand with no problem, but I can't sit, right? How come I can run but not walk, or walk but not run? And just look for evidence that the structural reason for pain doesn't hold water. It doesn't make sense. And I bet you'll find a lot of examples. And I've heard people tell me all the time, oh, I went away for a week, I saw my family, it was great, I didn't have any pain, but then I came home and whammo, there it was. Well, what about being back home in the place where they've experienced the most of their symptoms and the most of their stress and turmoil and conflict with others? And what about that says to the brain, yeah, we're back in that unsafe place, give me the pain to keep me distracted. So look for those types of connections, connect the dots, and see if you can figure out how that kind of ties together. But if you're asking questions like, I've got spondylolisthesis, can this help that? Look, that's just a name for a structural abnormality they can see on an MRI. But again, there's no proof that that is the cause of the pain. And ask the doctor some pointed questions. Do people have this and no pain? And they will invariably go, yeah. Some people have worse MRIs than you and no pain, and other people have better MRIs than you and unbelievable pain. Which all just kind of goes back to the point that structure does not cause pain in the vast, vast majority of cases. Right? That's what Sarno said. Structure does not cause pain. So even though you do have a structural abnormality, doesn't matter. Most of us do. It's called aging. So please don't get wrapped up in believing that you're broken and that you need to be careful and that, and sometimes these doctors are just jerks. One of the doctors literally dropped a book off a desk and slammed. She was like, what'd you do that for? He goes, yeah, that could happen to your spine. So it said some horrible stuff that said you'll end up paralyzed if you don't get surgery. And I'm thinking to myself, where does this doctor get off on scaring the shit out of somebody to convince them they need surgery? How dare he? I don't want to get onto a rant there, but hey, doctors, one of the doctor's oaths is do no harm. I'm sorry, emotional harm, scaring people, convincing them that they're broken and messed up and going to have a lifetime of pain and there's no cure. Holy crap, that's just awful. And that is doing harm. That is creating psychological harm and adding so much fear to the equation. So what I will encourage you to do is, if you believe you've got a structural problem that's keeping you stuck, it's not. Look for the evidence that you have TMS. Go back to the assessments. They're all listed at the top of the Pain For You group in the pinned post, the announcement. Redo them. Always look for evidence. If you have a pain-free day and it comes back the next way, that's proof that the pain-free day means it's TMS. You're not broken. So I'm wandering a little bit on this video, but I get enough questions from people who are asking if this TMS work can fix a real structural problem. And no, it's not going to heal your disc. It's not going to fix your spondylolisthesis. It's not going to adjust your body. But it's going to eliminate pain that's coming from your brain because of TMS. And your body can stay the way it is, right? I haven't had an MRI. Never did. But I had x-rays. And they said disc degeneration. Invariably, 23 years later, I guarantee it's a lot worse. But I feel fantastic. And you can too. So don't get hung up on these structural imaging. Put those images away. Don't stare at them all the time. Don't research what that means or what that looks like. If the indications are it's TMS, proceed accordingly. So the overall thought I have for you is relax. You're not broken. I really don't believe you are. So what do you guys think? Please comment below. Please share if you think it's useful. And I guess we'll talk soon. Love you.